Great. Thank you. Good evening to everyone. And we have we are delighted that we have such a tremendous panelist here. If you want, we can start introducing yourselves and introducing the companies and corporate venture funds that you are leading in each case. Okay, starting for you, Eva.
Sure. Eva. It's okay. Hi, my name is Eva. I represent 3M Company New Ventures, which is a corporate venture fund of 3M Company, Minnesota-based, U.S. material science, medical devices, enterprise software company. I myself am based in Munich, and I'm responsible for the European investments. In the background, while we're going to be having our panel discussion, you're going to see some slides out of a study that I just completed around 3 weeks ago as part of the Kaufman Fellowship Program. Kaufman Fellows is a venture capital education out of Palo Alto. And basically my study, I asked entrepreneurs that have been backed by corporate VC funds how their experience has been. And around 100 people answered the study, so it's a representative enough sample to give a good picture of where corporate venturing is heading.
Hello, everyone.
Gonzalo.
My name is Gonzalo Martínez de Azagra. I am head of Samsung Ventures in Israel. Samsung Ventures is a corporate VC. We have been in existence since 1999. We have invested in over 600 companies with a 1.7 billion fund. We invest in all kinds of startups in any stages. Any startup that can add value to the Samsung group through a strategic collaboration would be happy to take a look. If there are any startups in the audience, please feel free to reach out to me later. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Toni Moreno. I'm the head of corporate development and M&A of Medias de España, television broadcaster, and also the head of Ad4 Ventures, which is our venture capital arm that we developed with the intention of developing media for equity deals. We've been working, recently realizing the idea that we need to get more of this venture capital mentality in a sector like ours, because the future of television can be seen as uncertain. So we are also investing in some other projects, not necessarily structured as a corporate venture fund, but more like introducing more venture capital mentality for investment in strategic investments. With introducing the acceptance to failure, which in corporations is not something that we were used to.
Okay. Hi, my name is José de Hoyos. I'm the global director of Telefónica Open Future. Telefónica Open Future is the platform that Telefónica uses to coordinate and all its open innovation activities and venture capital investments. We currently have $500 million of investment power, out of which 60% comes from Telefónica. We have different vehicles through which we do these investments, starting from seed investments that are wider, going through Amerigo funds. Then we have Telefónica Venture Capital, and finally we have a new investment vehicle that is called CIP. Okay. Vale. So that's basically it. That's it. I don't know. Do you want me to repeat?
Okay, we have some background noise, so if you can speak louder,
speak louder.
It's gonna make it easier for everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Suzanna Chiu. I'm the head of Amadeus Ventures. Amadeus Ventures is the funding program of Amadeus IT Group, which is a travel technology company based in Spain. Amadeus Ventures, we invest in startups in the travel industry. So if you are like at the crossroad of technology and travel, we will be quite interested in talking to you.
That's great. Thank you so much to everyone. Just to start with some data, from 2010 to 2014, over 475 new corporate venture funds were created. And currently operational, we can count around 1,100 now around the world. So it's clearly a sector which is growing. First question I would transmit to the panel would be why corporations are using these corporate venture funds, and which are the main reasons behind all this movement? I mean, it's a strategic movement. It's more like I want to be more innovative. It's like only a financial return issue behind that. So
I'd be happy to start. I think there's good and bad reasons. The bad reasons is because entrepreneurship and venture capital has become more popular and cooler, and everybody's asking, what is this? So I do think there are excess of corporate venture capitals in the world today. That's the bad reason. The good reason is that it complements other efforts to innovate, like internal R&D, like collaborating with universities. So it's part of the open innovation trend, which with the acceleration of technological development is a requirement in the market. So that's the good reason.
I could add to that, saying that it's a matter of when you're building up a strategic plan, historically you could think of where I want to be in 3 years' time, and I'm going to invest in that direction. I mean, the point we are suffering these days is that we have little visibility on what the world will look like in our sectors in 3 years' time, in the sense that I cannot invest in everything, and if I invest a big amount of money in a certain company, it could be that in 3 years' time this company is useless, in the sense that it's better to diversify, invest in many different things with this venture capital mentality that at least 2 of them will work out and compensate the effort on the other 10 that actually failed. So that is, in the end, it's a change of mentality because of the lack of visibility that we may have about the future.
Talking about Telefónica, R&D is critical for the house. I mean, we spend like 7 billion euros per year. So it's like we are like the 3rd telco globally in terms of R&D. But what is obvious is that you cannot rely only on internal development. And Telefónica has realized that that's not enough. And for that reason, he has started this program of opening, of coordinating activities to open innovation and including venture capital investments. And this is a way to combine what you do in-house, you listen to what's happening outside the house, with where disruption is happening on a daily basis. And so you need to listen to the new companies, to the investees for the different vehicles that you have, and then you can act wisely and make decisions, have optionality, make strategic movements. It's at the end of the day, it's a matter of having strategic options.
For Amadeus, it's like the venture fund that we are running, we have listed financial returns as one of our objectives. So because we want to be aligned with the companies that we invest in. So at the end, they are very motivated by like rewarded of their hard work. So we want to be aligned. But at the end, innovation is the main objective for us to run the corporate venture fund. Like it helps us to keep in touch with the external world. Like myself and my team, like we talk to almost 100 companies every quarter, so to be like aware of what are the new ideas out there in travel. So travel is something that people are very passionate about. There are a lot of frequent flyers who are like expertise in a certain technology, and they have ideas of how to apply their expertise to improve travel. So it's always interesting to listen to like ideas coming from people not already in the industry, and to get insight from that.
I think I can only add to that. I recently read Exponential Organizations that I recommend to everybody. And there's an example there of how Nokia at the end of the 90s invested $8 billion into infrastructure to basically sensor infrastructure to find out where people are moving. And a couple of years back, it was sold to Microsoft for around the same amount. At the same time, Waze, a company out of Israel, within months managed to basically cover a much wider population than Nokia's network, and was sold to Google for a good return. And I think that example just shows exactly the nature of the idea behind corporate venturing, that these companies, small companies, are just so agile sometimes, and they can grow so much faster than corporations. Corporations tend to grow linearly, while these small companies can actually grow exponentially. And that's the idea, I think, behind most of the corporate venture organizations, to kind of get access to these exponentially growing startups.
Since I understand that for everyone, the main reason to set up corporate venture fund is bringing innovation inside the parent company. How do you do that? How do you manage to bring all this innovation from the startups that you are taking a piece of it into the parent company? Is that a collaboration effort? Do you need to buy 100% of the company at the end? So it's an M&A question, and there is not a rule to do that. But in your experience, how do you manage to bring that innovation from the startup world into the parent company?
In our case, in Telefónica, it's a matter of hard job. I mean, you need to push the OBs, the businesses. You need to have a dedicated team to promote and showcase the different products and services that the investees have. And it's a matter of knocking different doors, because at the end, a big multinational, you know how it works, that at the end of the day, each person is taking care of its day-to-day businesses and the P&L, and to meet the quarterly requirements. So it takes time, but in our case, the key thing is to have a dedicated team, pushing and pushing and pushing.
Absolutely. So on my side, the Amadeus Ventures is still relatively new. We've been having the program for more or less 2 years. So now we have 6 companies in the portfolio, and our biggest objective is to bring the learnings into the organization. And how can we do that? First is about communication. We just talk a lot, within the organization. So first, people need to be aware of what we have invested in, and what are the lessons, and what do we learn, what do we would want to learn from these companies. Just by talking and communicating is the first step of creating the awareness around the topic that we want people to be aware of. And the second one is about portfolio management. So we are, for each one of the companies that we invest in, so on the first week, maybe not the first week, we will start to talk about a formal collaboration program. How do we see them fit into the Amadeus world? So can we introduce them directly to our customers? So can we introduce them into our solution as a pilot? So to try to develop a very systematic plan in terms of step by step, how can we do things together?
I think it depends on the company culture a lot as well. So if you look at companies like Apple, they don't traditionally invest, they only acquire. And part of that has to do with their need to control every part of the process. So if you look at others like Cisco, Broadcom, when they were independent, they would acquire. Samsung Ventures does many more investments than acquisitions. And part of that has to do with the culture and how easy or difficult it is to integrate after an acquisition. When we do investments, what comes with the investment is a commercial agreement, a licensing agreement, or a co-marketing agreement, some sort of agreement with the company that very clearly is going to add value, or ideally intends to add value to the business unit directly. We rarely invest only for the sake of investing. We call that risk hedging. You know, if we see a particular industry we're not in and we want to learn, maybe we'll do an investment where we're not ready to work with that company. But usually what we do is we invest, and in parallel we start trying to sign some sort of agreement to do a joint product or license the technology, so that immediately we see the fruit of the collaboration and investment.
In our case, when we invest, the idea is more to have the ability to control it at a certain stage once that the business is working properly. The thing is that in the early stages, you may find the issue that we don't have the internal talent and the internal attitude to develop a certain business in a certain area that we are interested in. And it's good to build it up with a couple of entrepreneurs and say, build this up, we'll give you financial support, we give you independence so that you can think in the way you have to think and not necessarily in the way a corporation would normally think. So that in the end they concentrate on developing the business and not on processes and protocols. It's more about having the ability to build up something that makes sense with the intention of staying and then taking control of it. Because in the end, if we see that it makes sense strategically, we want to be there. On the contrary, on the other side, we also have this media for equity fund where it's more financial approach. We invest because we want the financial return. But on the other hand, in the meantime, for us, it's very interesting in terms of marketing understanding and seeing how is actually television impacting on the startups, working together with them and trying to gain as much as we can from this collaboration, even though at the end there is more a financial exit. Or it could be that we actually open us the door to diversify in the future our business, because in the end it could be that the future of television is e-commerce and not necessarily television. It's kind of opening up doors and having the possibilities in the future to actually either go that direction or go to another.
So from your point of view, do you see this corporate venture movement more like a response, a question of a way of reaction to the disruptive innovation that is coming to most of the sectors that we are working in, more than in a evolutive or incremental innovation? Is that right?
Personally, what I think is that these startups, whereas in the past, maybe you required to do real innovation, you required resources and tools that were not accessible by small companies. Now with the internet, with access to very powerful tools, there's been a democratization of innovation, and so it helps to have people thinking differently. So absolutely, I think it's a reaction of seeing more innovation occurring outside, and we have to be part of it.
I actually think that for adjacent and mostly for adjacent businesses, equity investment into startup is a good tool, because you can basically have a look into some new area or have a look at a new way of working that's challenging your own corporation. But if you want to do something absolutely disruptive, like let's see BMW wants to disrupt its internal combustion engine, you're probably not going to invest in a startup. I think actually in that situation you need to most likely behave like Apple and acquire the entire company, because it's going too much into the core of your own know-how. So what we found at 3M is that when it's incremental or somehow adjacent, it's actually working perfectly with minority investments. If it's going too much into our core and it's really disrupting our own business, it actually quite often makes more sense to just buy a company totally or innovate internally.
In our case, it's a bit of a defensive move, in the sense that we don't know where we will be and the way television will look like in the future. So in the sense that we need to be ready for whatever is coming. So that's why we also want to be ready for it. And for that, we need to invest we need to have an eye on how things will be. So it's not that we are actually looking for big disruption or re-innovate everything in a way that we are reinventing ourselves to grow. We are, to some extent, worried about how to defend ourselves in case that we really need to, in case that the industry is changing.
In our case, we want to become like the leading digital telco in the world. So, and for this purpose, and for bringing the best product and services that a telco client is looking for, we realized that going only through R&D is not enough. So, this open innovation approach, this venture capital approach, is part of the solution. I mean, we wish to have the crystal ball to say what is, the key. If only one activity is going to get you like the best result, but at the end it's not. So it's a matter of having different options and doing trial and error. And that's basically it.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, maybe just a very last comment on an article that I read about Airbnb. So it was the story about Airbnb in its early days. Went out to ask for VC monies, and like tens of VCs turned down their request. And so it's not easy to say that who's going to be the successful disruptor and who's not going to be. And I think, as a corporate venture fund, we meet the objective of keeping the pulse in the industry. Just getting to know what is going on is already very important. Whether we actually make the investment or not, so we may make the right or wrong decision, but I think that external interface and getting to know what is going on is already part of the objective achieved.
Well, thank you. We are running out of time, but I would like to ask you a final question. Just, have you, from the corporate venture fund, have you ever funded an entrepreneurship initiative inside your company? Or are you always investing in entrepreneurs?
In our case, in Telefónica, I think it's well known the external entrepreneurial activity that we have through WIDA. But what is less known is that, for instance, in Telefónica R&D unit, they have been launching and implementing this entrepreneurial platform or program from year 2011, and the result of this is that we have selected and detected like 300 ideas coming from our staff that end up building new products and services for Telefónica, and we have invested like 50 million euros in developing these new ideas, products and services, and it's making revenues already. So it's something that is making results. And this is just happening with a unit that has 1,000 employees. So just imagine if we were able to implement this throughout Telefónica's worldwide staff, that is 150,000. So these things are starting to be implemented, but we need to keep pushing.
So at 3M, we don't do that because it's not our mandate. Our mandate is to invest in external companies. But 3M is actually the company that started with the 15% of your time opportunity. So anybody at 3M, and especially the technical staff, has the right to take 15% of his or her time and spend it on his or her own projects. And that's actually how Post-it Note was invented. It was a 15% of time project. So that's kind of our internal way of supporting internal entrepreneurs. And then we also have a couple of people in the headquarters that help out with that, actually to build that into an idea or a company. But it's a separate role to our own corporate venturing activities.
Samsung Ventures doesn't invest directly in internal projects, but Samsung as a whole, if you look at the history in our, the group is almost close to 400 billion. Many of the profitable businesses today were started from scratch, from zero. So that culture of
Internally.
investing very heavily internally is something we do very often.
That's right.
From our side, there is not a real plan for that, but at least we listen. I mean, there's sometimes people coming up with ideas. Okay, so those ideas are listened, but it's not that there is a real plan for the structure in that way.
That's right. Thank you so much. So I think there is time, 5 minutes, for final questions from the audience. First, I saw the lady. Oh, okay. Second. Do you mind?
Okay, now, okay, sorry. Okay, thank you for the panel. I'm running an accelerator and I'm accelerating startups. And one of the traditional questions that they are used to have is, should I go with a corporate venture fund, or should I go through a traditional financial VC, right? This is a recurring question. So I would like to get some feedback from you guys, because when you are competing at the end of the day with the traditional VCs, what are the things that you think are good and the things that are bad for the startups to take a decision? The easy question probably is because we provide an extremely good access to the corporation, but as Jose pointed out, it's not always good, it's not always easy to do this. And the bad side probably is that you have different strategies, the different alignment that the traditional VC that is really focusing the ROI. So I would like to get your points about that. Thank you.
Anyone?
I can speak from Telefónica's view and Wayra in specific. You know, Wayra is a fully owned accelerator part of Telefónica, and our value proposition to the startups is obviously the money is there. We just put like 50,000 euros or in each company, but what is really valuable is all the networking, the business development work that the startups can get out of us. So as I mentioned before, we have a team that is its main duty is to showcase the startups among the operated businesses, trying to foster commercial engagement, trying to use the products and services internally, and even helping with pilots, helping developing the product. So I think that the upside is there, is available. I mean, it's obviously I'm biased because I'm part of Wayra and Telefónica, but one concern that maybe entrepreneurs may have is, hey, look, perhaps the shareholders agreement is going to be like, or the business rights is very aggressive with me. It's going to hurt my future, and that's the other way around. I mean, it's the business rights that we have are super light. I mean, almost have no business rights. So the approach we are having there is really good, great value for the startups.
I think you need to manage your expectation, right? So when I did the study on 100 entrepreneurs that have accepted CVC funding, it was quite interesting because 50% of them responded that the reason they accepted CVC was because they wanted to find a customer. And then I asked them, you know, what was the result of your corporation? And they said only around 20% said or below that it was a customer in the end, and 70% was technical development. So I think a lot of corporates actually can help out very much in technical development. That's what the techie teams are very keen on. I think commercialization, market access, and so on, it's a bit more tricky. So you need to kind of figure out what are you going for with the corporate and find the one that actually can deliver that. You know, 3M is extremely tech heavy. It's a bit more challenging to give you access to market. Only in certain situations that is possible. So you have to think about that a lot.
I'd just like to add a note. If I were to recommend to a startup what to do, I would say to go for both. One of the problems, I think the values or the virtues of corporate venture are easy to see. If you work with a Samsung or a big corporation, and you happen to do business with them, it could be in the millions very quickly. But on the downside, because big organizations have a lot of politics, for example, if they invest in one round, you may have a change in the structure, and in the follow-on round, you might not, the corporate venture might not be in a position to invest. So it's always good to have a safety net of a good financial VC, and then have the strategic VC to try to deliver that value. And then another note is, you have to see the corporate VC, especially with big organizations, as a bullet train. If you go and try to stop it while it's running, it'll destroy you. You have to get on it on the stations. What does it mean? If you're aligned with them and your business is aligned with what they're doing, go with their timing and you'll be successful. But if you try to accommodate yourself to their strategy or the other way around, I think it'll be a failure.
Yeah, completely agree. Sorry, do you want to? So maybe just to complement on the previous answer, that my sales pitch to the startups is that what corporate venture brings is money, customer network, and industry knowledge. But then we don't necessarily write you the biggest check. So it's always good to combine like the asset of a corporate venture fund with financial VCs.
Great. I don't know if we ran out of time finally, or we have time for another question. Oh.
Sorry. Yeah,
The
there's a couple of questions, but I believe...
The lady in front of us...
but I believe Gonzalo and Toni had to go at 6, so either you go and we keep with the questions, you stay with us...
If it's a couple of questions, we can...
Okay.
A couple of questions.
There's a lady there that was... She was first?
I think she was first. Same question.
Yeah? Okay, we're going to pass the microphone there.
Okay, great.
All VCs and accelerators tell me how amazing their network is. What would be the unique thing about your particular networks, and how do you suggest I judge the networks of each of the investors?
Does anyone want to answer that?
I think the best way is... Hello? Yeah. I think the best way for you is to check and talk to previous startups from previous cohorts that have engaged with corporate accelerators and see the pros and cons, and see if the spirit of each particular corporate accelerator fits with your requirements or the way you see a business relationship. So I think there is no simple or easy answer for that. But I recommend you to speak to the startups that previously passed through all these different programs.
As a B2B company, like it's probably as a B2B company, it's probably an easier question for me to answer. Looking at like the network of Amadeus, we are present in almost 200 countries. We have offices around the world. We work with major players in the travel industry, whether they're the airlines, they're the hotels, they're the travel agencies. So we already have that customer network, and so you can judge what is the quality of our network.
Yeah, I think still the main reason you go for a corporate VC is for the network of the corporate that invests in you. Then you can have other networks, obviously, but it's usual that there's at least half of the stuff in a corporate VC unit comes from the corporation. So you hope that they have a buy-in at C level or that VP level that's going to help your product. Otherwise, I mean, that's really the main reason you go for a CVC.
Okay, I think we arrived to the end of the panel. Thanks so much to all the panelists, and thanks to the audience. Thank you so much.